Hello, I'm here to talk about Heroes Crossing, a board game currently in development that will be out sometime in 2017. While I'm talking, feel free to watch this fast-forwarded footage of people playing the game, and I hope you enjoy. Heroes Crossing is a game about being the mayor of a town in an RPG, specifically a video game RPG, even though it's a board game. The game plays 2 to 4 players and lasts about 90 minutes. It's appropriate for all ages, though due to the complexity level and the number of small pieces in the box, it's probably more appropriate for late teenagers, 14 and up. The core gameplay of the game is centered around building up your own individual town, a town capable of producing and selling different types of resources, whether they be weapons or magic or potions or shops. These are all things that heroes might want to use on their upcoming quests. So as you're building up your town, heroes will pass through and they'll buy things from you. And the principal challenge of the game is to generate the town that best suits the needs of the heroes coming through. As you play, you'll go through 3 distinct eras within the game: Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. Every time the level increases, the heroes become more powerful, the buildings become more powerful, heroes want to buy more, and you're capable of generating more victory points. One of the visual hooks of the game is that as the level increases, the art style of the buildings and the heroes progresses to match the evolution of old video game RPGs from 8-bit to 16-bit to 32-bit. So the color density, the resolution, the general style reflects the changes in the graphical styling of games as they evolved. Heroes Crossing takes advantage of a unique dice drafting system combined with a dual action system to guide the flow of the individual rounds. So how a round works is each player starts with 4 dice of the same color: red, white, green, and blue. And these dice are color-coded to match the different resource types: weapons, armor, potions, and magic. So each player has 1 die of each color, and they all roll simultaneously. Then, one by one, players draft dice from their individual dice pools and use those dice to perform certain actions. There are 8 basic actions in the game. The first is Get Land, and this allows you to take a land tile and put it in your town. Land tiles form the bulk of your town, and they form supply lines to get resources from one place to the next. There's also the Spy action, which allows players to place a spy on an opponent's land tile, and this blocks supply lines. Conversely, the Expel Spy action allows you to kick a spy out of your town, thus clearing up your routes for resources to move through. The Produce action is how you produce resources of a given type. When you produce resources of one type in one particular building, and that building has to be a production center capable of producing those resources. The Move action allows you to move resources from one building to another. Usually, this is moving your resources from your production centers to your shops so that you can later sell those resources. The Bid action is how you get buildings. You bid on a building you want using a die from your dice pool, and other players may potentially outbid you using their own dice or using multiple dice. The Attract action is how you signal to a hero that you want to sell them resources. You do this by placing a die on the hero, and other players may try to outbid you in a similar way to building bidding. At the end of the round, you will sell resources to heroes you have attracted depending on the die values that you used. You perform actions by drafting dice, and depending on the action, the die color and value might matter. So for instance, for simple actions like getting land or sending in a spy, the die you use really doesn't matter all that much. However, for actions like producing resources, the die value and color both matter very much. So for instance, to produce a resource, the color of the die has to match the type of resource that you're producing. So to generate red or weapon resources, you have to use a red die. The value of the die, whether it matters, depends on the action too. So to continue our production example, if you use a die value of 4 or greater, you produce more resources than if you used a die value of 1 to 3. The bidding systems in the game also take heavy use of the die color and values. When you're bidding on something, you generally can only bid on something that shares the color of the die you're using. So to bid on a weapon shop or a weapon smithy, you have to use a red weapon die. The value on the die represents your bid. So if you rolled a 5, you might have a very strong bid, whereas players who rolled a 1 to 2 might have a very weak bid. However, it's possible to increase your bids by supplementing extra dice or by using hero powers such that you're not completely tied to the dice that you roll. At the end of each round, if you've attracted a hero, you can sell resources from your shops to that hero to earn victory points for every sale. The player who satisfies the hero's final need also gets extra victory points and gets to take the hero and use that hero's power throughout the remainder of the game. The game continues until all the heroes that are coming through have had all their needs met. Basically, they've all purchased the things they need to go on their upcoming quests. At this point, players tally their final victory points, including various components such as bonus tiles and hero powers, and then the player with the most victory points wins the game. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in learning more about the game, you can visit heroescrossingGame.com. I look forward to playing it with you.